Before engines existed, before roads were built, and before anyone had even imagined the concept of speed, movement was a simple thing. It was slow and uncertain. Every journey demanded effort, and distance seemed like something that could never be easily conquered. And yet, something inside us refused to accept that limitation. We began to shape the world around us by carving paths where none had ever existed. We learned to work with animals, to build tools, and to create ways of moving that felt just a little easier than before. What started as simple survival slowly turned into progress. Then came the invention of the wheel. The wheel transformed more than just wood and stone because it transformed possibility itself. Movement was no longer restricted to what the human body could endure, and people found that they could extend, improve, and refine their travels. From that moment onward, the way we moved began to change everything else. Trade expanded, cultures connected with one another, and ideas traveled across regions that had never before been linked. Once that door opened, it never closed again. As time moved forward, we moved right along with it. Machines began to take over the burden of distance, and steam power carried us across land faster than anyone had ever thought possible. Steel tracks stretched across entire continents, linking places that once felt like separate worlds. The rhythm of movement changed completely, becoming faster, louder, and more relentless with each passing decade. Then we looked up and left the ground behind. Flight transformed distance into something almost meaningless because oceans that once took months to cross could now be traveled in just a few hours. The world became smaller, more connected, and more immediate than ever before. Even then, we kept pushing further. Engines became more powerful, systems grew more precise, and travel became something that people no longer feared but simply expected. Roads filled with constant motion, skies filled with scheduled routes, and movement became so ordinary that it was almost invisible in its constant presence. Then another shift began without any dramatic announcement. Intelligence entered the transportation system as vehicles started to think, respond, and adapt in subtle ways that slowly reshaped everything. Traffic became more organized, routes grew more efficient, and decisions were made faster than any human could possibly process them. Now we stand at the edge of something entirely new. The future of movement is no longer centered on speed alone, because it is now about creating a seamless, continuous, and almost effortless flow. It is a world where distance still exists, but no longer feels like a genuine barrier. Cities are beginning to move differently as their systems communicate with one another. Travel is becoming smoother and more integrated into everyday life, and the very idea of waiting for anything is starting to fade away. Beyond that, something even more profound is beginning to take shape. We are starting to move beyond the limits of the Earth itself, and what was once completely unreachable is slowly becoming part of the journey. Travel is expanding outward into space and into environments that once belonged only to our imagination. The same drive that pushed us to build roads is now pushing us towards the stars. Eventually, even the idea of a vehicle may begin to change, because movement may no longer rely on engines, wheels, or wings. It could become something more direct and more immediate, and it might feel less like traditional travel and more like a simple transition from one place to another. From where we began to where we are going, the journey has never really been about the machines. It has always been about the human desire to move forward, to go further than before, and to reach what once felt completely out of reach. If history has shown us anything, it is that we rarely stop at what is possible today. We continue, we adapt, and we evolve. Wherever the next path leads, we will find a way to move through it.